Hello everyone, welcome back to the Intuitive Living Podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan, and today's episode I kind of want to freestyle, but also zoom out. As the year 2023 is coming to a close, I've been doing a lot of reflecting on where I've come, what I've accomplished this year, what I want to accomplish in the future, and what I ultimately want to do with my business. I have been building my business for about 3 years now, and to be honest, I don't fully know what it's going to turn into. I know what it's going to turn into, but I don't fully know what it's going to turn into. I feel like I'm in the phase of building my business where I'm trying to find what I really want to put my energy towards. I'm really grateful that I'm able to create the space to let that creative side of me out, because I do think that is very, very important in terms of building a business, especially as a woman. I think we are meant to just flow, lean into our emotions, and lean into the things that inspire us and light us up. And if we're not doing that, I don't think we're fully happy. I won't speak for men because I'm obviously not a man, but from my perspective and who I am, and I consider myself a very feminine woman, structure is very important to me, but so is flow. This whole year has been about balancing those two things together, and I want to talk about that today because I've also been reflecting on why I'm in the dating realm. Why dating is it's something that I'm so passionate about, but I'm also very passionate about mindset and self-development, and why do those things intertwine, and where do they cross over, and what do I really want to provide for my clients. I was talking to my coach yesterday. We had this aha realization of the reason dating has been such an important aspect of my life, and relationships have been such an important aspect in my life, is because when my relationships are healthy, the rest of my life seems more seamless and seems easier. But when my relationships are tumultuous or toxic or chaotic, the rest of my world is that way. I know everyone's different, but me specifically, dating and relationships with men have always weighed heavier for me and on me. My romantic and intimate relationships have been the biggest mirror back to myself, to the point where I would be attracting toxic and abusive men, and when those relationships would end, my entire world would fall apart for about 6 months, and I wouldn't really fully be able to get myself up off the floor. It was as if I was saving myself from drowning, but I was still in the water, treading water. I didn't pull myself out of the water, I just kind of pulled my head above water until the next guy came in. And there was definitely something around thinking that men would solve my problems for me. It goes into me being able to trust myself. Like, it's this whole thing. And what I've learned, especially this year, is the more that you build yourself up, your trust in yourself and your confidence in yourself, and you really work on and commit yourself to bettering the relationships with the people in your life, the better off your life will be. And one of the issues is we are conditioned to be attracted to the chaos and the drama, right? Like, the chaos and the drama makes life more interesting because otherwise life is boring. Oh my gosh, it's this whole thing. Like, I can feel myself wanting to go on this tangent of we are stuck in this societal box. You go to school, you get a job, it's 9 to 5, you work all your life, you get a family, move to the suburbs, you retire, and then you get to reap the rewards that you've spent so many years. But what we don't think about is all of those years that we're working and we're doing what society tells us we should do, we're miserable. And the only thing that makes us not miserable, because we are convinced that this is the only way to live, so the only way to not make us miserable is to create drama and chaos to make life more exciting for us. But if you start to realize and learn that life can be lived a different way, like all those people that you see, influencers are the perfect example, because you can go on YouTube, you see someone literally living a different life from you. You probably to some extent wish you had that life, but in the back of your head, that's like, it's out of the question for you. And you have to ask yourself, why is it out of the question? Why is that out of the question? It's actually not out of the question. You are just telling yourself it's out of the question because no one else around you is doing it. You don't have anyone telling you you can do it, so you just assume that you can't do it. But the more that you're exposed to people and opportunities that show you you can do it and it is possible, you will be able to do that. And I think one of the reasons I do have this mindset and this way of thinking already is because both of my parents are entrepreneurs. I grew up right outside Washington, D.C., so a lot of people who work for the government. I am one of the only people out of my friends whose parents are entrepreneurs, and my parents own multiple businesses. I have firsthand experienced how we lived when I was younger and seeing my parents reaping those rewards of all the hard work. As I grew up, as I went to high school, we moved neighborhoods. I was already taught that life was different. I also have a sister with special needs, and so growing up, my childhood was very different. I didn't grow up with the childhood that most people grew up with, that I was friends with. I didn't notice that I was different. Like, it wasn't something that was obvious to me, but as I've gotten older, I have realized that I think very differently and I operate very differently than the people around me, mostly because of the way I was raised. I was exposed to the belief that if you want to do something, all you need to do is make it happen, and it's actually not that hard. We could argue that building a business is difficult. I would argue that working a 9-to-5 job that you absolutely hate is difficult. Working for someone else is difficult. Having your livelihood literally depend on someone else is difficult. Where I personally would rather be responsible for my own livelihood, meaning running my own business, having the financial freedom to travel, to take time off when I want, to give my children the opportunities to take care of my parents when they're older, to take care of my special needs sister at some point. All of these things add up in my brain, and not because I think I'm special. I think I was just exposed to different things growing up. These thought processes really come fairly easy to me, only because I was exposed to it, not because of anything else. I also think career is something that weighs heavily on a lot of people's minds. Number one, it is our livelihood. Number two, it is easier to focus on outside of relationships with other people because your career is something that you can control to a certain extent, where you can't control the way someone else decides to act in a relationship, be it family, friends, intimate partners. It doesn't really matter. We can't control other people. And number three, it's our livelihood, so it makes sense. And I find that within myself as I've been growing and evolving, as I've moved out to San Diego and quit my 9-to-5 and really invested myself in this business. But there's some part of me that going into 2023, I felt like I wasn't fully doing everything that I could do. I could tell, I could feel that I was holding myself back. I wasn't really sure what it was or what it looked like, but every year I always pick out a word to represent the year forward and what I want to see out of that year. And the word that I picked for 2023 was the word pivotal. What pivotal means to me is doing the things that are going to take me to the next phase of my life. Like, this is going to be the year that everything I do within this year is the reason that I've gotten to that next phase of life. This is the year that I'm going to do that. When I chose that word and I made this decision, I had no idea what that was going to look like, but I did make the commitment and the decision and the intention that that's what this year was going to mean for me. I've always noticed when I am intentional about something, it always ends up happening and playing out through that intention. For example, I journal a lot, and I'm a big fan of the journaling practice, and I'm a big supporter of journaling. So every time I start a new journal, I write a journal intention on the first page. As I'm going through this journal, some journals take me 3 months, some journals take me 6 months, a year, because depending on the journal, I pick out whatever journal I find appealing at a store. They could be a small journal, they could be big journals. I had a journal once that was like 11 by 8 inches, and it was like 1.5 inches thick. And that journal took me almost 1.5 years to finish, but it was the journal that for whatever reason I was drawn to. The crazy thing that I find with journaling, and I find this so interesting, I always write an intention of what I want to learn, how I want to grow through this journal. As I come up to the end of my journals, I kind of forget about the intention and I just start journaling and going about. And as you can imagine, if a journal takes me 3 to 6 months or even a year, 1.5 years to finish, you forget the intention because there's so much time that goes in between the intention and the end of the journal. There's so many things that happen. It's not always obvious that that's the intention or the focus on everything that you're journaling about. It's not like every single entry has to do with your intention. As I get to the end of every journal that I've ever written in, that I've set an intention for, I always look back and I'm like, wow, I literally did it. Like, my intention, it's done. I have finished 2 journals so far this year, and I'm about to finish my 3rd. I did this the other particular night where I looked into the beginning of my journal. As I'm headed towards the end, I have maybe 15 or 20 pages left of my journal. So I looked back to the intention. I was like, let's see where I'm at. I started that journal on September 7th. And the intention was all about taking everything I've learned this year and integrating it, just becoming that person. And I will be honest, on September 7th, I didn't feel like I was very low. I was confused. I needed support. I had just signed up with a coach again. I think I'd been working with her for maybe a month or so. I have to look up when we started working together. Basically, when I started this journal, I wasn't feeling very confident in myself. And it was something that I just wanted, like this, I can feel this is what I'm supposed to focus on. And I'm not there yet. It's not like I'm already working on it and I want to continue. It's like, this just needs, like, this is something I want. So it's crazy to sit here almost 3 months later and be like, wow, I'm literally doing it. And as I was journaling the past 3 months, it wasn't like that was the main focus. To be honest, there were so many other things happening in the background that I didn't realize they were happening in order for me to achieve this goal of stepping in and integrating all of my lessons that I've learned this year. And that's really what I want to talk about, because when it comes to my business, it ties everything together. And it's the reason why I think relationships are so important. So let's just talk about, we are humans. We are a community-based species, meaning we are meant to connect, we are meant to communicate, we are meant to love one another. We literally can't survive without each other. We're not like, we can't survive on an individual level. We need to survive on a community-based level. That's one of the reasons people are so lonely and people are struggling, is because they're trying to do life alone when you are not meant to do life alone. You're meant to do life with other people. Even businesses, right? You have to hire employees to help you. You literally cannot do anything successful on your own. Let me back up. You could do something successful, but if you want to do something exceptional, if you want to do something life-changing, if you want to really make an impact, you need help to do that. You could do so much by yourself, but you can do so much more with other people. And that is not just career, that is everything in life. The more you work on your relationships and the better harmony you have with the people in your life, I really, really believe that you are going to move mountains and you're going to be so much more fulfilled and happy. As I've gotten older, I have learned, and unfortunately I've gone through experiences that have really woken me up to all the little shit that we get upset about really doesn't matter. Like, what really matters is the people that we have in our life, the fact that I'm alive, you're alive, we're able to breathe and be comfortable. Like, there's so many other things that are more important than all of the things that we get hung up on. If us as human beings are a community-based species, and we find the most love and fulfillment from the people in our lives and around us, why would we not lean into that? And I think that's when everything clicked with me in my coaching. When I first blew up on TikTok, I was going through a breakup and I was coaching people on no contact. I was marketing myself as a breakup coach. I can help you through your breakup. And I helped a lot of people through their breakup. And honestly, I helped myself through my breakup by doing that. It was so rewarding, but looking back only a year and a half later, my mindset and headspace around relationships is completely different from where it was back then. Because back then, while I had a good approach to breakups, I didn't have a good approach to really healing and shifting myself to have the relationship that I desire to have. I still desired that relationship and I still understood that I needed to heal myself and I needed to work on myself, but I didn't realize how far away I was from that. And honestly, sitting here now, a year and a half later, I have made so much progress. I just think about, like, wow, who am I gonna be a year and a half from now? And that excites me because I'm so proud of myself right now, and that just means I'm gonna be like so much more further a year and a half from now. And it's crazy because I don't even know what that looks like. As I've gone into this year in coaching, it's like I was growing and evolving and learning all these lessons, but my clients weren't growing and evolving with me. I don't mean my literal clients. I do have clients that I have been working with them since I blew up on TikTok, which is so cool to see their evolution as well. I'm talking about the clients, like, it's almost like my content felt like it was stuck in a phase of me that no longer existed. I was still talking about breakups. I was still talking about no contact and fuckboys and this and that. I don't disagree with the opinions that I had at that time in my life, but there was this reality of I'm not living that life anymore, and I'm starting to feel disconnected to that phase of who I was. Like, I feel like I'm coaching people who know me in a different phase of life, and I really wanted to bring my new clients into this new phase of me, which has gotten me to reflect a lot over the past couple weeks. But in order to even be able to reflect on that, I had to do so much work this year. So I really want to talk about the things I've been working on with my coach. And I'm also a big believer, if you have a business of any kind, you should have a coach. You should have some type of mentor that you're leaning on for accountability and trust and perspective. If you have a business, you need to be reinvesting in your business. This year, this summer, I decided I'm gonna work with a coach. I'd worked with her before and I loved her. I was very eager to work with her again. I was more focused on the emotional, regulating my emotions at that point, but I ultimately knew I wanted help with my career. I didn't know if it was going to be from her specifically. I knew that was like the ultimate goal. The immediate need was to help me work through my emotions. As we started working together and we started working through the emotions, I found myself very frustrated because I would keep having these things come up. And these things that were coming up were all issues surrounding other people in my life, working through different relationships in my life, being able to regulate my emotions, being able to give myself and provide myself with what I need, communicate my needs, and also work through, like, if someone is unable to provide what I need, perspective on, like, it was just, it honestly became a combination of really looking at the relationships that I had in my life, filtering out the people who were and weren't enhancing my life, but also healing my emotional self. I didn't know what that looked like. I just knew that I was feeling very emotional. I had a lot of emotions that I was finally expressing in the beginning of the year. Like, the beginning of this year was such a heartbreaking time period for me, but I think it was necessary because I had completely broken down myself to the point where I was like, I'm so tired of pretending I'm okay. Like, I'm just done. I'm exhausted. And I stopped pretending I was okay. I wasn't obviously being rude or mean to people, but I would be honest. I would say I'm really just exhausted. I'm really emotionally broken down right now. I'm hurt. I'm angry. I feel heartbroken, like just completely raw and honest with myself and with the people around me. And every time an emotion came up, I let myself feel it. I stopped pushing it down. I stopped pretending everything was okay. I stopped telling myself to suck it up and get over it. The first quarter of 2023 was just, I can't fucking do this anymore. I'm at my wit's end. I'm so tired of pretending that I'm okay. When I finally let go and released all of the emotions that were coming up, when they came up, I just didn't care. And this doesn't mean I was lashing out at other people and getting mad. This was me working through it. So if I was angry, I would literally scream into a pillow. I would go on a drive and like scream on the highway, blasting music. I would go to the beach and cry. Like, I would do things that would let me express the emotion. Expressing the emotion doesn't mean that you need to involve other people in that. A lot of times you're really just putting your pain on someone else. You're transferring the pain instead of transmuting it. So that was a huge lesson of just, Siobhan, if you're feeling sad, let yourself be sad. Be alone. Tell the people around you you want to be left alone. The biggest example of that was my birthday. My birthday is in February. It was my 30th birthday. So of course everyone was asking what I was doing. We need to celebrate this and that. The only thing I did on my birthday was sit on my friend's couch and cry. I was in Toronto because I wanted to be with my best friend because of everything I was going through. She was trying, like, she obviously was like, it's your birthday, like, I feel like we need to do something. And I just told her, I was like, I don't want to do anything. Like, I want to lay on this couch and I want to cry. And she let me do that. And I literally did that all day long. And it was one of the best birthdays I've ever had. which sounds crazy because I was sad and I was crying, but I think it was so great because I actually did exactly what I wanted and I didn't care what other people thought, right? Because people could look and be like, oh my God, why did you spend your birthday that way? It doesn't matter. It's literally what I needed. And when that clicked with me, it unlocked this whole other chapter, I guess, which is really the second quarter of 2023. It was recognizing with that, with expressing the emotion, number one, it feels good. Number two, the emotion passes. And you always hear that. You always hear people be like, oh, it'll pass. This too shall pass. That's one of those things, like as kids, you're like, what? Like, fuck you. Like, shut up. It's annoying to hear. But when it really clicks, and that was the click for me, is Siobhan, the quicker you express the emotion, the quicker it passes. And the quicker it passes, the faster you're gonna get over it. My best friend and I have been talking about, we actually spoke about it last week. We have learned that sucking something up and just getting over it, pretending things are fine, you'll get over it, but it'll take longer than if you just let yourself be angry, upset, or sad. You give your time to process it fully in that moment, and then you're over it. And it feels painful in the moment because you're letting yourself be fully exposed. Whether you're alone or with someone else, you are literally exposing the emotion. It's scary. You don't know what you're gonna think, how you're gonna feel. It hurts, but then it's over. Where if you expose yourself and express yourself tiny bits along a 6-month period, maybe it wasn't as painful in the moment to express the emotion because you didn't let it out fully, but that was also 6 months of pain. That was also 6 months of just sadness that you experienced, like, or neutrality, where you could have been happier, you could have been joyful, you could have been doing so much more, but you kept these things locked up inside you. So when I had that aha moment of when I expressed the emotion, not only does it feel good, but one of the reasons it feels good is because I'm actually transmuting it and turning it into something good. I'm gonna do that more. The second quarter of this year was really me feeling empowered to do that, and that clicking of why it's important to express the emotion and letting myself do it over and over and over again. And that meant if I was upset, if I was feeling uncomfortable, and I would voice everything to everyone. If I wasn't sure about something, I would say, I don't know. That doesn't make me feel very comfortable. I would just say how I felt. Saying how I felt and doing and following through on my body, which is my intuition, was this just game changer. So as I'm going through all of this, I get to the point in the summer where I decide to hire a coach, because as I'm feeling very like empowered, there are clearly some things that I just haven't fully worked through or addressed. If I'm honest, like, I wanted the accountability and I wanted that pivotal, because the word 2023, pivotal, pivotal, pivotal. As I'm working through all this emotional stuff, I'm still not seeing that progress in my business and my career. So it's like, all right, Siobhan, we gotta work this shit out, get our shit together. So I hired her and I started working with her, and the third quarter of this year has really been me just working through emotional things, which is still frustrating because I found myself going into our sessions where I wanted to focus on my business, but I kept talking about these emotional things I was going through. And how do I process this? How do I handle this? How do I really building up the trust in myself, the confidence, and prioritizing my needs, prioritizing my emotions, prioritizing my happiness, not caring as much what other people think, fully expressing myself. Honestly, a huge lesson up to this point in that third quarter of this year has been expressing my feelings, good and bad. So the beginning of the year was really expressing my heavy feelings, so the frustration, the anger, the heartbreak, the upset, expressing that and letting myself, not shaming myself for feeling that way, just accepting that that's how I feel. The third quarter of the year was expressing my happiness, expressing when things did light me up, because I realized that I am a very neutral person. I've always been neutral to things. It's rare that I get really excited about something because I'm afraid if I get excited about something, then I'm going to get let down. So if I'm just not excited about anything and I'm not expecting anything, then like I won't get hurt. But the funny thing is, just because you're not excited outwardly about something doesn't mean you're not internally excited about it. There was something that just felt wrong about being excited about something but not acting like I was excited. And so I started doing that. I started just telling people that I love them more, telling people when I miss them, telling people when I really enjoyed their company, little things like, I'm having so much fun right now, oh my god, this was amazing, and giving myself permission to enjoy my life. When I gave myself permission to be light, my thoughts started to change. One of the reasons that I hired a coach, again, the emotional stuff I was going through, but I was having very dark thoughts. I was having this continuous thought of waiting for the other shoe to drop, but like I was so afraid someone I loved was gonna die. Like I was so terrified I would just wake up and be like, yeah, this person's dead. And it would be like my mom or my sister or my boyfriend, like someone, anyone that I love, like someone was gonna die. And I was so afraid because I knew if that happened, my whole world would fall apart. That started to haunt me. I'm thinking about Gary Vaynerchuk specifically. He talks a lot about something that motivates him is the thought that he could lose someone he loves, and that motivates him. But I was finding it wasn't motivating me, it was scaring me. I was so terrified that I could be talking to someone and not even knowing it was my last conversation with them, and it was controlling my life. It was making me hold on tighter, but not in a good way. I was moving from fear, I was becoming anxious. Funny thing about being more light and expressing when something makes me happy and I am feeling loved and I'm feeling joy, the fearful thoughts about death went away. I don't really know why, but they did, and it's not something that I sit with. And now I really am moving from a place of gratitude. Like, yeah, like this could be my last conversation with this person, but I guess, honestly, I think it's because everything's on the table. Like, I'm telling them everything. They know that I love them. They know that I'm happy with them. They know all of these things. I'm not hiding myself anymore. So if today was the last day, they know how I feel. And I think that's why maybe I don't have those worried thoughts anymore, because you know how you always hear like you lose someone and you're like, I should have told them this. Oh, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. I don't feel like I'm moving from that direction anymore. It's like, no, they know. They 100% know. And even if I'm frustrated with someone or I'm sad, it's like being able to be like, I'm really sad, but like, I don't hate you. I'm not mad at you. I love you. I'm just sad right now and I just need time to be sad, right? Because that's the truth of the situation. And really tapping into the truth of my emotions, what's like the root, because we could be angry, but it's like, are you really angry or are you just sad? Are your feelings just hurt? And that's okay. Like, just admitting my feelings are hurt. I need space. I don't really want to talk to you. I don't hate you, but I also don't want to talk to you right now. And I really just need time to process whatever's going on. That, I think, was like the missing piece that leads me up to what I have been reflecting on the past 2 weeks that I'm really, really excited. I think it like ties in my whole business and why I'm so passionate about dating, but also so passionate about self-development. And I was telling my coach yesterday, it's weird because if someone talks to me and they have questions about dating, I am very passionate about it and I get really into it and I could give you a long thing and I love talking about it. But at the same time, I don't like the idea of only being stuck in the dating realm. Like, I'm like, I don't want to just be a dating coach. I don't want to just be a breakup coach. I feel there's more and I don't really know how it fits together. The reason I'm so passionate about relationships and dating is because of the personal growth that it brings us as a whole. I value and believe in all of my relationships in my life. I notice that the better my relationships are, the better my life is, which really leads me to where I'm at today and where I've been the last 2 weeks. I was talking to my coach two weeks ago, and she gave me homework to make a list of goals that I would like to achieve by the end of 2024. And that got me thinking. So I had our session, I think it was on a Wednesday, and that Friday I was sitting and I was like, all right, time to do the homework. So I was sitting and I was trying to figure out what my goals were. I didn't have specific career goals. And something else I've learned this year is if I don't have an answer, I'm not supposed to know it. Like, it's not time yet. Like, the solution comes when you're ready for it. And if you can't come up with a solution, that means you're supposed to focus on something else. I didn't really push and prod. I didn't force myself to come up with goals for my business. I just didn't have any. So I thought about, okay, like, what are my other goals? Something I've been very focused on over over the past couple months is my habit tracking and my finances. Finances have always been a big thing for me. Money has always interested me. I've been making budgets since I was in college. I was managing a restaurant in college. I literally didn't need to manage this restaurant. I didn't need the money. I'm grateful enough to say that my parents were able to provide for me while I was in college. I did not need $800 a week from managing a restaurant. I didn't need to budget at all. I didn't have bills. Like there was literally nothing, but I still made budgets because I had like a Netflix account and I did have a credit card. So it was cool to be able to see a budget every month. I wasn't really doing anything with it, but anyways, it's always been something that's been interesting to me, and I've been budgeting a lot. I probably got serious about paying off my debt in 2018 or 2019. All of this to say, I sat down a couple weeks ago and I looked at my budget and I realized one of my goals was, because I live in San Diego. San Diego's expensive, and if I'm completely honest with you guys, I don't really have the ability to move apartments if I wanted to. I could make it work, but I would have to give up a lot that I don't think it's worth giving up if I'm completely transparent and honest. That was something that I was like, ooh, that's a goal. That's something. I really believe in paying your debt down first. So that is my priority right now. I believe in putting money into savings. I believe in giving to charity and practicing giving to charity, because if you can't give $1 out of $10, why would you be able to give $100 out of 1,000? I also didn't come up with that. I heard it somewhere else and I really liked it, and I found that to be very true. So that's been very important to me, is giving my money away, contributing to different people and different communities. So my budget goal is ultimately 50% of my income goes to expenses, which is like my needs, like my rent, food, electric, like actually things that I need. And then 30% goes to wants. So dinner with friends, traveling, events, what have you. 20% goes to savings and 10% to charity. When I looked at my budget, I am nowhere near those percentages. Not because I'm reckless with money, because most of my expenses are necessary and they take up majority of my income. So when I looked at that and I had this aha moment a couple weeks ago of, I need to make more money. Like, that's the only solution here. I just have to make more money. That realization lit some fire under my ass that I have not had since I've probably moved to San Diego. It was just this like realization of like, I have to make more money. That's the only solution. Like, what am I, like, I can't live like this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. So my goal became a couple things. One, in order for me to meet that percentage goal, I would need to double my income. I don't expect that to happen overnight, which is cool because that means that's a goal for the next year or so of being able to double my income. Part of doubling my income, what it would look like, is actually beginning to pay myself out through my business. When I first blew up on TikTok, full transparency, I was bringing in money that I didn't know what to do with, and I was not very responsible for it. I was kind of just like living my best life for a little bit. But going into 2023, I decided to open up a separate bank account and not touch that money at all. So this whole year I am living off of my salary income, and any income that I've been making through my coaching is going into savings for tax purposes and whatever else I might need it for in the future. And then expenses, I obviously need to pay for the platform, my coaching, anything that is reinvesting itself into the business. That's what I've been doing with the money I've been making from my business, is just reinvesting it. I'm not at a point where I'm paying myself out from the business yet. The goal really becomes doubling the income so that I can live a more comfortable life and provide in the ways that I want to provide. Because for me, when I think about my life 5, 10, 15, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, I see it myself as being financially free, which really means taking care of my parents so they're not going to like a home when they're older. I want to literally be able to take care of them. I want to be able to take care of my sister, Megan, who has special needs. I want to be able to provide for my children. I want to be able to have, honestly, like 3 to 5 kids, which that costs money. I want to be able to provide them with the things that they need. I want to teach them what my parents taught me, is if you want something, you can make it happen, and we will make it happen. I don't want my kids to not be able to do things because I couldn't provide it. I want, if they want to like learn piano, I want it to be like, okay, we're going to sign you up for piano lessons. You know what I mean? That's really, really important to me. I want my kids to be able to travel and experience different cultures, understand that there are different people and there's different ways of living. There's not one way to do things. I want them to have the experience that I had growing up, and that really comes with honestly just having that financial freedom. So if that's what my life looks like, and that is the fuel for the fire of why I'm doing everything, and that's what I come back to, because honestly, if you do anything that's important, you have to remember why you're doing it. Especially with work and business, you don't wake up and want to do your job every single day. You don't wake up and work your business every day because you love working your business every day. You wake up and you do it because you have to. For example, your job right now, your career. If you are a disciplined person and you are going to your job and doing your job every day, if you sit back and ask yourself why you're doing it, you're probably doing it for the financial security. And that's good. Like, my point behind that is there is a reason why you're doing it. If you are going to a job and you're dicking off, you're not really taking it that seriously, it's because you don't really have a big enough reason why you're doing it. You're probably just doing it because it's easy for you to do it, and because you don't have a need to find a more fulfilling job. Let's say you're working a job that you could easily get that kind of job somewhere else. So I'm thinking about a restaurant job. Let's say you don't take your restaurant job very seriously because, oh, if I get fired, I'll just get another restaurant job, whatever. But you don't have a reason as to why you're even working that job. Or maybe it's the fact that you could get a new job so easily, so you're not taking the time to really hold on to this one. It doesn't have as much importance. But if you have an important reason why you're doing something, that's going to be the fuel that really pushes you to show up every day. And it's not about forcing yourself. Like, if financial security isn't something you're stressed about, let's say you're living at home, so you don't really have to worry about rent, you don't really have to worry about making a certain amount of money, then your reason why shouldn't be financial. It should be something else. So everyone's reason why is different. And my reason why has changed over the course of the years. But right now in this phase of my life, my goal is financial freedom for my future. When that clicked with me for the past couple weeks, I've just been on my bullshit and doing way more than I've been doing this whole year for my business. And as I was reflecting about this with my coach yesterday, I realized, when I realized it, I was voice noting my friend, just kind of giving her a life update. Like, her and I will send voice notes and update each other. 30-minute personalized podcast episodes that we send each other, just sharing and updating each other. So I was doing that last night, and as I was talking to her, I realized that, oh my gosh, like, the reason I'm able to do all of this stuff with my business is because of all of the emotional healing I've done this year. Like, that's why. And it's funny because while I was doing the emotional healing, I was getting frustrated. Like, I was like, oh, I just want to focus on my business. Why does this stuff keep coming up? Like, this is so dumb. I just want to build my business. I'm so mad at myself. My year's not pivotal. Like, it's not going to happen. I'm so frustrated. And then when everything clicked, it's like, I had to do that. Like, the career stuff was not going to take care of itself until I took care of the deeper stuff. And this whole year, the whole pivotal part of 2023 was me healing that deeper inner emotional wound that I didn't even realize existed. But because I called it in, meaning I set the intention, the universe provided me with all of the opportunities and experiences to heal what needed to be healed in order for my year to be pivotal. That's really why I'm so passionate about relationships and dating and self-development and how it all ties in together, because when you heal your relationships with other people, you truly heal yourself. The way you act in a relationship, because relationships are the biggest mirror to yourself. And it doesn't have to be intimate. I do think intimate relationships are the biggest mirror to yourself, but I do think friendships and family relationships are also a mirror. And if you can take every relationship that you have in your life and see the lessons in each relationship and try to show up and experiment with different ways you can be better, with different ways you can grow in the relationship. And it is slow, small changes over time, until you reap the rewards. But then when you reap the rewards, it's like you wake up one day and you're like, oh shit, it's done. The work is done. I did it. That's kind of where I'm at now. I really wanted to make an episode about this because something else my coach and I talked about as I was going back and forth with her about, I'm passionate about dating, but I really don't want to be stuck in this hole and I don't know what to do, And she's like, she told me it's very, very important that I create based on what I am passionate about in this moment. So while I'm passionate about dating, there are other things happening in my life that I'm very, very passionate about. How can you intertwine them? How are they being intertwined? And how can you teach that? And how can you share that? With all that being said, I am super excited for the year 2024. I'm super excited for whatever my business is going to grow and evolve and turn into over the next year. I'm feeling very proud of myself, very at peace. I feel like I'm accepting myself and I'm being authentic and I'm actually allowing myself to be who I am for the first time in a very long time. So with that, I'm going to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for listening. I'm very excited to see all the shifts and changes that we're going to make together over the next year. I'm very excited. I feel like I really am stepping into that next version of me and I'm really excited to do it. I'm excited for you all to be here with me. I'm excited to see us all grow together and learn together and evolve. I want to provide more resources. I want to create more for you and this community. So any feedback, any messages, any requests, anything is greatly appreciated. And with that, I'm gonna leave this episode off and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.